Welcome to Boots on the Ground, a podcast brought to you by Dogs on Deployment. I'm your host, Kylie O'Neill, the Marketing and Communications Director for Dogs on Deployment, and I am absolutely thrilled to kick off this exciting journey with all of you. Boots on the Ground is a special podcast dedicated to shining a spotlight on the incredible volunteers, boarders, and business collaborators who make our mission possible. In each episode, we'll hear heartfelt stories, gain valuable insights, and celebrate the remarkable efforts of those who support our military members and their beloved pets. Today, I'm joined by Becky, a dedicated Dogs on Deployment boarder whose story resonates deeply with the mission of our organization. Raised in a military family, Becky understood from a young age the unique challenges and sacrifices that come with serving. Later, as a service member herself, Becky faced the painful decision to give up pets due to lack of options for pet care. Now, through Dogs on Deployment, Becky has come full circle, volunteering as a boarder to ensure that other service members and their families don't have to experience that heartbreak. Join us as we dive into Becky's inspiring story and explore the impact one volunteer can have on the lives of service members and their pets. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to a next episode of Boots on the Ground. I'm Kylie, and I have Becky with me here today. Thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me.
My pleasure.
So I know in previous conversations that you and I have had, you've mentioned that you were actually service member yourself, now a veteran. Would you mind sharing with us a little bit about your military background and what life was like for you growing up in a military family yourself?
My father was 27 years Air Force, so I grew up in the military and understood exactly what that meant. When I was about 9, I guess it was, actually had a dog, and we ended up PCSing to Turkey, which we could not take the dog with us at that time. So we left her with my aunt, and my parents told me we would get the dog back, thinking that as I grew up, I would understand that getting the dog back probably was not the best thing for the dog, but I pinned every hope I had on getting the dog back. So 3 years later, when we came back, they had no choice but to get, do their promise right. So we did get the dog back, but that looking back on that now as an adult, it was like, yeah, Dogs on Deployment would have been perfect for that particular time because I would have known, and my parents would have known, yes, you're going to get the dog back. But it didn't work out that way. But that was always in the back of my mind. And then when I actually went into the Air Force, my children were 10 and 13 when I got orders to go to Germany, and we had 3 dogs and a potbelly pig at the time.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, and we had to rehome them because it wasn't an option for us to take them with us. And if I had known about Dogs on Deployment, or if they had existed at that time, we could have done that. So when Dogs on Deployment came into my life, it was like, this is so perfect. This is everything I wanted when I was younger, for my kids as well as for myself. So this was almost a lifetime dream.
I'm so happy to hear that you were able to have your childhood dog back when you returned, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through that experience even later as an adult with having to rehome pets. I couldn't imagine that experience going through that.
It was hard. I think harder on my kids than me, but hard to watch them and try to explain things to them. They were like, "But why can't we? Why can't we? Why can't we?" Well, there was no one available to us that could foster them, and that wasn't really a popular thing back then.
Right. Well, and I will also wanted to say too that I don't know if you know, as a boarder, which we will dive, in greater detail with later on in our conversation, but we have had actually a pig before in Dogs on Deployment in our foster network. So for those of our listeners that heard that, I wanted to make sure that I communicate, and then you as a boarder make sure you know, Dogs on Deployment, despite our name, we are inclusive for all military pets, including pigs, chickens, farm animals. We've had small animals, reptiles. So if you have one of those and you think Dogs on Deployment might not be the best fit for you, I assure you that there is a boarder out there that would love to take your pig because we've had them before.
Well, that's actually how I found out about Dogs on Deployment. I have 2 potbelly pigs now,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, and a friend contacted me and said, "Hey, this military member is being deployed and needs somebody to take their pig for a while." And I said, "What?" And they told me about Dogs on Deployment. Well, by the time I put my application in and was vetted, then someone else had taken the pig, which was fine. I was fine with that. but that's how I ended up finding out about dogs on deployment and becoming involved with them was through a pig.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. That's so cool. And thank you so much for stepping up and being willing to take the pig. I'm so sorry you didn't have that opportunity from that was before my time, but from what I've heard from our my coworkers that was a very exciting time because it's not something that we see often,
Right,
a pig in our network.
right.
I I'm disappointed for you that it didn't work out with the pig, but I'm so
I
happy.
just wanted the best thing for the pig, you know?
Absolutely. Well, and I'm so happy that despite not being able to pursue that opportunity with a pig through dogs on deployment, I'm very excited to talk with you later about even though it wasn't a pig, you did continue to move forward with the dogs on deployment boarding process. But
Yes.
before we get into that, you mentioned that you unfortunately growing up in a military family and then serving yourself, you had multiple experiences where you had to leave pets behind or had that unfortunate scenario where you did have to rehome them because dogs on deployment wasn't in existence at the time. With those personal experiences you have gone through, how would you say that has shaped your view on supporting other military families?
You know, a lot of people have bumper stickers that say, "I support our troops."
Mm.
And I've often looked at that and said, "How? What are you doing?" You
Right.
know, saying that you support them is one thing and praying for them is really nice, but what are you doing, actually doing with your hands? And when I found out about dogs on deployment, it was like, ding, that's what I can do. That's something I feel comfortable doing. That's a service that I can provide to really, really support people. Because if someone had been there when I was active duty and could have taken my pets to foster for me, I would have been so very, very grateful. And so it's not about wanting somebody to be beholden to me, but it's about this is one thing I can do to support our troops.
So, well, and thank you so much for stepping up and being that support system for other military families. We sincerely appreciate that at Dogs on Deployment. And I'm sure those that you have watched Pets for would probably echo that same. That being said, I would love to talk with you a little bit about your first pet that you ever boarded for Dogs on Deployment. Her name was Xena. Would you
Mhm.
mind sharing us a little bit more about her and what it was like welcoming her into your home?
I had actually forgotten that I had signed up for Dogs on Deployment. To be honest with you, we don't have a lot of animals in our area needing fosters, gratefully, but I actually got an email from them because Bradley, who was Xena's owner, lived about 30 minutes from us, and I got an email from Dogs on Deployment say, "Hey, we need a foster for this dog." And I looked at him, and his story just broke my heart because his mother had been fostering his dog for him when he was on deployment previously, and his mother had passed away. And
Oh my
it was like
gosh.
stick a knife in and twist it. Oh my gosh,
That's awful. I
it
can't
was
even
horrible.
imagine.
And I thought this poor guy and this poor dog is used to his grandma in essence. And,
Right.
and so I contacted him and I said, we would love to. We have a small farm and I do have dogs and she would have to get along with our other dogs. He said, well, let's bring her out for a meet and greet. And she's a Belgian Malinois, and they are very different. They are very, very protective and very, very smart.
Well, they're
And
often used as working dogs in the military.
yes, yes. And he was honest with us. He said, when I get there, just totally ignore her. Let her come to you. So that's exactly what we did. He opened the car door and she came out and sniffed around a little bit, and then she came to us. And so she decided this was her home and this was where she was going to live, and actually became very protective of the farm.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, she got along with the other dogs perfectly. She loved a ball better than anything, and my dogs love balls too. So we played a lot of ball while Zine was here. Very talented dog. She could get 3 tennis balls in her mouth at one time.
Holy moly, do you have a
Yeah,
picture of
I
that?
think I do. I'll have to see if I can get sent it to you.
Oh, yes, please, if you do, I'd love to see it because I can't even imagine because
Yeah,
they have
she
very
could
narrow
carry two
faces.
of them, but she could fit 3 of them. She couldn't walk with 3 of them, but she could walk with 2 of them in her mouth with no problem.
It sounds like she was very talented.
She is very talented.
That's awesome, and so was Xena, she fit right into your home. She actually even became protective of your farm
Very.
and your family. Can you share with me a little bit more on how Xena became such a big part of your family?
She was just like another member of the family with our dogs, and we don't have grandchildren. We have grand dogs, and so she just became a grand dog. And we had to be careful if strangers came to the farm because she was determined to protect us. And we saw that as a positive thing. I knew that there was nobody who was going to drive up on this farm and do anything, take anything from this farm without Zena knowing about it and being upset about it. She just fit right in. She did everything my other dogs did, and she was, like I said, very smart, learned a lot of tricks, and was great company.
Well, and from our earlier conversations that I've had with you as well, you've mentioned that Xena was just a part of the boarding experience for you. Can you go into a little bit more detail with me about how not just Xena, but also her owner became an even bigger part of your life as well?
So Bradley had a girlfriend, and when he got home from deployment and got back with Xena, he and his girlfriend started living together, and they decided that Xena needed a partner, so they got another dog. His name was Charlie. And
Oh,
so occasionally when they would take trips, they would ask if we would watch Xena for the weekend or wherever they were going. But Charlie was a huge dog, and he was a puppy, and they weren't sure that he would get along with the rest of my dogs. So they boarded Charlie, but we always watched Xena. I didn't want her to be boarded. I wanted her to come back and visit
absolutely.
her grandma and grandpa. So she would come back. Well, after Charlie got about a year or so, when he got a little bit bigger, we decided, well, let's just keep him for a few days and see what happens. And he fit in with the rest of the dogs too. He was really goofy. And so then Xena and Charlie would come back. Well, Bradley and Renee decided to get married, and my husband is a minister, so they asked my husband to marry them. So
Oh my
now on their
gosh,
wedding, yeah,
really?
on their wedding day, we're there at their wedding, and my husband is marrying them. And they love their dogs so much they did some elaborate decorations with their pictures and said that they created these mixed drinks. One was the Xena and one was the Charlie.
Oh my
So
gosh, that's so fun.
yeah, and it was really funny because Bradley was deployed a second time, but we didn't keep Xena that time. Renee kept him with or kept her with Charlie, but Renee had to travel about 1 weekend a month, and so we would keep Xena and Charlie 1 weekend a month. So and she would we would meet in a parking lot somewhere, and sometimes we'd meet in the parking lot, and when she got ready to take the dogs out of the car, Xena would just go nuts because here's a stranger here and here's our mom, and get out of the car, and you're fearing for your life because here comes this dog. And then she would see who it was, and it was like, oh, it's you.
I'm so happy to
Listen,
see
I'm
you.
happy you're not tearing my throat out. The other thing, that the other story I would like to tell you about Xena and her owners is I had a knee replacement surgery while Bradley was deployed the second time. So Renee had Xena and Charlie, but when Bradley found out I was having knee replacement surgery, I got this surprise box from Amazon one day, and it
Oh,
was a pillow to put my leg up on. It was very, very helpful in my recovery. And I thought, that's very, very thoughtful that someone would think about that and not just send a gift, but a very specific gift for someone who'd had leg surgery. It was really, really sweet.
especially considering you weren't this is after the fact. You weren't even watching his pets at that time either.
Right,
That's
right.
that's something that I'm very excited to hear that you've been able to experience going beyond just the pet care and boarding experience with pets. That's something that I've heard echoed from quite a few of our
Hmm.
boarders is that this boarding experience, it's wonderful. You're helping, America's heroes with their pets so that way they can have peace of mind while they're gone. But it goes so much further than that. There's a lot of relationships that have been
Hmm.
established. And I mean, the fact that your husband officiated his wedding is just amazing to me. And I'm really something that, I'm after coming into dogs on deployment, that's something that I've personally really enjoyed. And I would like to think that hopefully you have too, is the
Oh,
community
yes.
aspect.
It's more
Absolutely.
than community, it's family.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So you had Xena, and then you also helped out with Charlie once Charlie was added to the family. But I have also heard that you've actually had a bulldog named Sugar as well that has been boarded after. Can you tell me a little bit more about her?
Sugar is a very special dog. She's an English bulldog, and they have very different personalities. I'd never had one before, but and she was a little bit different case because her owner was not deployed. He was actually PCS, and they went to Belgium, and they were more than willing to fly their dogs over there to live with them. but the airlines will not fly a flat-faced dog, a bulldog, a pug, any of those flat-faced dogs, which I didn't know. I thought they did in the wintertime, but they don't at any time. It's just too risky. I guess they've lost a bunch of them because they have breathing issues to begin with. So when Sugar came on the website, it was obvious that this was going to be a long deployment, at least 2, possibly 3 years. And so a lot of people are just like, a few months is one thing, but a few years is very different. But
Big commitment.
it is. But I didn't care. I mean, 2 months, 2 years, it's all the same to me. So we said if she can get along with the rest of my dogs, it's cool. So she came out to the farm and made herself queen and established her throne, and she's very different. She fit in well. She doesn't play like the other dogs do, but she looks at them like, yeah, I'm telling you what to do and how to do it and how fast. She
So
just does her own thing.
can
She's very different.
you explain to me, you said Sugar came in and she made herself queen. What did that introduction process look like for you already having a pre-established pets in your home?
They're kind of used to dogs and coming and going. I guess my son and my daughter both have a dog, and when they need help, I dog sit, of course, for them. So there's always a dog coming, a dog going, two dogs coming, two dogs going. They just go with the flow. They've been very, very flexible. And so when Sugar came, it's just like, hey, how are you? Do you want to play? No, oh, okay. Well, you don't like a ball. I like a ball. She's going to throw the ball. I'm going to go after her. But Sugar liked to walk around the farm and had quite an affinity for horse poop.
Oh, lovely. I'm sure that was wonderful to deal with the
Yeah.
aftermath of.
Yes. Yes.
So funny. So you mentioned that because unfortunately Sugar was a flat-faced breed, she was not able to accompany her family overseas, and that meant 2 to 3 years for you with her boarding. Can you explain to me what kind of bond you were able to develop with Sugar having her for such an extended period of time?
Well, and that's one of the things when I tell people about dogs on deployment. Oh, how can you do that? How can you give them up? Well, and one of your other boarders mentioned it. It's because you know from the very beginning, this is not your animal. This is not your dog. It's just like babysitting or grandchild sitting or whatever. You know from the get-go that you're providing a service, but you're providing the love and care that this dog needs for a particular point in time. Now, our bond with Sugar has probably exceeded most people's because we did have her for so long. And we went to visit her when they got back, and she tried to get in the car with us. Oh, okay, I'll just go with you. So I think there was a little confusion there for a while, but um, being there every day is just like any other dog. You form a bond, but there's always that thought in the back of your mind: this is not my dog. And so big decisions, if there were any to be made, need to be made by their owners, unless it's something that can't be, elevated to that point. If you decide you've got to do something, you got to do it now. But we took her to the vet and had her shots, and just like we do our other dogs.
It seems to me like that was such a hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn. I feel like that was a very full circle moment kind of for you having unfortunately experienced that
Mhm.
devastation of not having your pet when you've had to go overseas and then being able to do that for somebody else. I That's something I also want to make sure that our listeners that are tuning in know that dogs on deployment, in addition to not just being for dogs, we are also not just for deployments. We do help with overseas PCS in situations like Sugar, where maybe the pet can't accompany their family due to airline restrictions for being a flat-nosed breed, or often, like you mentioned, we see with weather, airlines will put heat embargoes in place for all breeds and not enable them to travel. So, dogs on deployment in those situations, we are very excited to be able to offer boarders like you to help those service members. So, if it's a matter of they just can't take their pet right now due to those heat embargoes or weather restrictions from airlines, we will offer our boarders to take those pets for a couple of months until then the pet can join them overseas later. Or in the case of, due to breed restrictions from being flat nosed or
Mhm.
being a banned breed in other countries, we do offer that as well. Just about every situation you can think of, Dogs on Deployment is here to help with. We've helped with our service members that are going to boot camp and need someone to watch their pet while they're in basic training. It's been, you're going on a command training for a couple of weeks. There's so many scenarios and dogs on deployment gets that even me just listing a couple does not anywhere near encompass everything that goes
Yeah.
on when you're in the military. So, thank you so much for being willing to take on an extended period of time for our pets that are in need. I can't even imagine what that was like for you building that bond, but then also being able to step up and do something that unfortunately somebody else couldn't do for you some time ago. So thank you for that.
It does feel like it's a full circle, and it makes me feel good that their family's not going through that.
Absolutely, and that's the beauty of dogs on deployment, and we
Absolutely.
couldn't do it without you, so I appreciate that. So with knowing how hard that it can be for pets and for military families not having their pets with them, what would you say about dogs on deployment ensuring, peace of mind while service members are away serving their country?
I think it's peace of mind on both ends. Number one, when I had to go through the vetting process, I realized, the military member really doesn't have to worry about anything. They don't have to make sure that, this person's not going to fight their dog or anything like that. Dogs on deployment has already made sure that whoever is fostering your dog is a nice person or is not going to do anything that you wouldn't do with your own dog. And so that's peace of mind. And it's also peace of mind from my point of view that they're honest with me. Bradley was very honest with me that Xena can be very protective and that she's a very typical Belgian Malinois, which I didn't know anything about the breed. I had to look it up. But that she might not like. It took her months to like my son. When my son would come to the house, she would just act like she was going to bite him. And he said, "Is she going to tear me up?" And I said, "I don't think so." And then all of a sudden one day it was like, "Oh, I know who you are. You belong here." And she was his best friend.
Oh my gosh.
So, but I knew that they're going to be honest with me about this dog situation. They're not going to send me a dog that's really aggressive and not have told me about it. They are at least honest, and they make their owners be honest about or what are the good things and the bad quirks about this dog. If the dog pukes every morning, if you know that, then you can deal with it. But if you don't know it, then you're all upset because, well, they didn't tell me that they puke every morning, whatever the case. With dogs, you can always, they're never the way they are when you meet them the first time. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, it's even people. The first time you meet someone, every interaction after that, you start to really establish and build a relationship. Pets are no different. So every
Right.
day is different, especially something that I'm sure you've experienced as a boarder because you mentioned, it took Xena a while to adjust to your son coming around. It's We're taking these pets out of their home and something that their routine that they're used to. And our board and care plan that we require our service members to complete prior to even getting their pet into the network and connecting with a boarder, that's a very detailed plan that, like you mentioned, it really helps with being honest and giving the boarder every tool that they can remotely possibly think of to try to help with that pet, not just that transition, but understand their quirks too. So, really happy to hear that Bradley was so honest with you in that boarding care plan and made sure that you were aware and that you were able to work through that. That being said, I know there's so many types of pets that are in our network. Was that remotely something that you were concerned or felt was a deterrent from when it came to taking Xena? Was that something that concerned you?
I was concerned about it to see, how she would interact with my animals, but it's really people that she doesn't interact well with if they're strangers. If you ignore her, like Bradley told us to do, she's fine. And she was better with women than men. So she came to me immediately, but my husband was standing there beside me and he just totally ignored her. He didn't act like she existed. And so she didn't respond to him until much later. But my son, and I told him, don't do this, but he was like, "Hey, Zena, no, 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 you can't
Or
do that. Let her come to you." So that made a big difference. But we had to be careful if we knew we were having company or workmen or anything. Yeah, I didn't have to worry about not being alerted to anybody coming up to the house because she alerted.
and let you know.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Well, I'm really glad that you were able to work through that and that Bradley was so knowledgeable and gave you the tools to be able to successfully work through that for yourself, but also for Xena as well. That being said, There's so many different intricacies that you've experienced, be it with Xena and being very protective, or Sugar having an affinity for equine poop. That being said, you've experienced all these different scenarios. So, with all of that experience you've had, what would you say to someone who is considering becoming a dog on deployment boarder, but maybe thinks that they're not ready, they're just not certain? What should they know before making that decision to take on a pet for an American hero?
I think it's almost like having a baby. If you wait till you're ready, you'll never do it. Don't do it because you're not ready. Do it because that service member needs you. And there's so much variety in the pets that you choose and how long you can keep them. Some deployments last 6 months, some of them are 9, some of them are a year. The PCSs are years. But I've noticed too, there's some that are only 30 days.
Mhm.
You can put up almost anything for 30 days. Just try it for 30 days and see how that works. And then maybe get longer deployments as time goes on. Um, People don't understand, how can you stand to give the dog up after you've had him that long? It's the right thing to do because that service member needs you. If you really want to support our troops, like I said, don't put a bumper sticker on your car, foster a pet for them. If
Absolutely.
you can't do that, donate money. Can't do that, donate money.
Well, and donate board, or even like I please volunteer, contact me, contact anyone on the Dogs on Deployment team. We would love to talk with you further about how you'd like to get involved. There's so many ways to, quote, support the troops. There are so
Right.
many options, and we are very flexible. So even if it's something right off the bat you don't see listed of a way you think you can help, just send us an email. We are
Mm,
always excited and happy to have more great volunteers like you join us in any capacity that you are capable. And we are nationwide. So wherever you are, please feel
right.
free. We're always happy to have more people. So, all of this being said, what do you feel has been the most rewarding part for you in your journey of being a Dogs on Deployment boarder? I know we covered a lot, but what for you has been that most rewarding aspect?
Expanding our family.
Mhm.
Bradley and Renee are just like kids to us now, and we're looking forward to seeing their family grow in the future. And then Sugar's family, we've been to their house, they've been to ours. They've sent gifts when they were overseas. They know my favorite stuff from Europe. They would send me chocolates and all kinds of good stuff. And you're watching, they've got a little boy, watching him grow up is just, it's like your family has just expanded.
I love that. Dogs on Deployment. I know you already said earlier, I said community, you say family, and it's
Family.
it's it's amazing. It's something I mean, military family is one thing, but that expansion of including so many other people through the Dogs on Deployment network, it's really such an amazing thing. So
It is.
I love it. So that being said, are you looking to expand your family and help with any other pets in the future?
Well, right now I have 7 dogs
Oh my
here.
goodness.
One of them is my daughter's, but I have 2 dogs that have jobs outside. Their farm dogs, but then I have 4 of my own here in the house. So right now I'm not looking to expand, but I think before, whenever we've had an animal that's near to us, we're fairly close to an army base. And sometimes if somebody goes to Dogs on Deployment from there, they'll send emails, hey, we really need somebody. And so if they send me an email, I might consider it. But right now we're kind of good on dogs.
Well, please don't ever feel obligated. We appreciate everything that you have done for both Xena, Charlie, and Sugar. So please don't ever feel obligated if you are not at a place to. You don't have to. And something I did want to also make sure that our listeners are aware of too, as well as you, which I'm sure you do because you've been with us for a while. But if you are ever in a place where you are not wanting to even receive those emails about pets that might be local to you needing assistance, you are always welcome to change your Dogs on Deployment border account through the dashboard from public to private and unpublish it. That way, you won't receive any of those emails or notifications from service members needing help. But one, rest assured, there's so many other borders in our network. No pet's going to go without one, but you're also welcome at any point in time. Please feel free to unpublish it. And when you are at a point where you're ready to take on a military pet again, you are welcome to reactivate that account. And it's also something that will also automatically unpublish automatically after 180 days without a login as well. So if you see a drop off in emails and you want to get them back, just log back into your account and make sure that it is published, because if it's not published, our service members can't see it. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners today about what it means to support military families or how they can get involved or anything like that?
I think that anybody who has pets knows the stress involved in making sure that they're being well taken care of when you're not able to do that. And I would encourage people to think about that. Even if you don't have a dog, you can have a dog temporarily. That's a great way to try out a breed or something. It's just to be that foster. And I would encourage people not to wait until you think you're ready, because you're never going to be ready. There's always going to be those, I don't know, maybe not this time, maybe not this time. Just go ahead and do it. Once you do it, you'll do it again and again and again. The
That's
rewards are way more than the work.
Absolutely. It's definitely something I've heard from a lot of the boarders that I've spoken with, that they have taken one pet and then from there they just continue to foster. And it's like you mentioned before, you have so much flexibility in what type of breeds or pets that you take, as well as the lengths of time. So there's no one shoe fits all when it comes to our
Right.
deployment network. You can, if there's something you're looking for, you're likely going to find it.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you
Even
so
a
much.
pig.
Yes, even a pig, even a pig. You never know. We've had chickens. Yeah. Please feel free to always check the network. Register, like Becky mentioned, you'll get emails when there's a pet near you that's needing help. But please also always, I know you're not personally in a place right now where you're ready to take a pet, but in the event that you are in the future, if you haven't received a notification from a service member, please always know that you as the boarder are also welcome to look at all of the pets that are currently in need in the network by searching either through your zip code and setting a mileage radius, or you can even expand the net a little bit further, because some service members are, even though they might not be close by per se to you, a lot of them are willing to travel a little bit further when it comes to fantastic care for their pets. And you'll see that in each individual animal's profile. It will say this service member is willing to travel either cities near me, within my state, or some others will even say within my state and neighboring states. So if you, moving forward, are looking for someone, haven't heard from anyone, please feel free to take a look.
Good.
But other than that, I am so happy that we got to talk with you today. I
Nice
really
to meet you.
appreciate your time. It was so good to meet you. Thank you so much for sharing your stories about Xena and Sugar. I was really excited to learn more about those beautiful dogs and hear how they've just expanded your family in so many ways.
Yeah. Thank you, Kylie.
Hey there, it's Elisa Johnson, president of Dogs on Deployment. As a veteran and a pet owner, I know firsthand the challenges military members face, especially when it comes to pet ownership during deployment, training, or PCS moves overseas. That's why I created Dogs on Deployment. We are the only free to use nationwide online network of volunteer pet boarders willing to care for military member pets during their service commitments. We have one goal: to prevent unnecessary pet relinquishment by service members due to their service commitments. No military member should have to give up their beloved pet when duty calls. But we have one problem. We need you in order to help us achieve mission success. If you support the troops and love animals, you can sign up to volunteer to board one of our pets in need, or make a donation online to support our Hero Pet Boarding Network. Don't wait. Visit dogsondeployment.org to get started. And don't forget to follow us on social media too. And hey, just because we're called Dogs on Deployment doesn't mean we don't help cats too. I've got dogs, cats, and even chickens, and through our network, we've helped every type of pet. So don't wait. Visit dogsondeployment.org today to support your troops and their pets.